Hey guys, I know this setup is a tad weird, but I'm actually pre-recording my speech because I've had some Wi-Fi connection issues, and I thought it would be really rough if I did it live. So I know this isn't as cool as a live presentation, but I'm gonna do my best here. So without further ado, let's get started. So when we were all kids, we had this organization called DARE come to visit our schools and teach us to just say no to drugs. Like we all know that saying, and they even made us sign their DARE contract. But today I'll be describing why some people are breaking their DARE contract and actually saying yes to psilocybin for therapeutic purposes. So when I go to party with my friends, I always turn into the dude in this photo and become the mom of my friend group. So drugs and alcohol have kind of just been an annoying part of my life. But then I saw this TED talk about psilocybin, and I became immediately fascinated. It's one of the main reasons I'm actually a neuroscience major here at Regis. So today I hope to inform you about psilocybin because it's really never talked about and inspire you guys and persuade you guys to do some research on your own so you can be armed to start conversations, late night conversations with your friends so we can start devillainizing this powerful medicine and helping people that have very extreme uh, psychological disorders. So the DEA labels psilocybin as a class 1 drug, which means it has a high potential for abuse and there's no valid medical uses. But this is a complete lie, and according to Scientific American, psilocybin is not only one of the most promising drugs in modern psychiatry, but it has no withdrawal symptoms and is not considered physically addictive. But psilocybin has some other societal PR problems. So the first is that psilocybin and all psychedelics were kind of intertwined with the hippie flower power movement of the 60s. So when you think of magic mushrooms, you might think of the local hippie living in his van down by the river kind of imagery. But another thing that's kind of against psychedelics is Timothy Leary, and he kind of helped ruin their reputation. So Timothy Leary was a researcher in the 50s and 60s who was actually a Harvard professor, and he was researching the effects that psilocybin could have on smoking, depression, and a few other psychological disorders. But he was just one of many researchers. But one day he sadly kind of fell off the cliff, and he recommended that all people, including kids, should start taking psychedelics. So this obviously created a huge media frenzy, as it should, and across the board overnight, the research about psilocybin had the plug pulled, and for the next 50 years, really nothing happened. But this is really sad because psilocybin, these kind of vices against psilocybin aren't backed in science, statistic, or fact, and they kind of cover up what psilocybin can do, which is treat a host of different psychological disorders while not causing any harsh physical side effects. So let's get into the research. Roland Griffiths, who is a neuropharmacologist at Johns Hopkins University, which takes like 37 years of college to become, ran a double-blind experiment in which terminally ill patients with severe depression or anxiety were given high doses of psilocybin and led by medically experienced guides. So here are the results. So about 80% of the participants in this experiment experienced moderate to intense boost in their life satisfaction and wellness, and none of these participants experienced any notable physical side effects or prolonged trips, which is a great fear, but it's so statistically infrequent. And I think he had over 200 participants. So one of his colleagues named Matthew Johnson, who is a leading behavioral pharmacologist, ran a study in which lifetime smokers were given high doses of psilocybin and led by medically experienced guides. So basically the same experimental setup, except they gave the treatment to lifetime smokers. So here are the results. So about 2 out of the 3 lifetime smokers remained smoke-free a year after the treatment, which is crazy. And it actually makes psilocybin therapy the most effective way to get people to stop smoking because it basically statistically obliterates all other competing forms of smoke cessation. So I could keep throwing these studies at you all day long, but I'd rather tell you guys about one of my old high school girlfriends named Lauren. So it's kind of sad here. So Lauren struggled with depression, and it got to the point where she had to be placed on antidepressants. Her weight immediately increased, and she became what she called cognitively numb. So she wasn't confident in her body, and she just kind of felt like a zombie. That's what she kept telling me. This numbness kind of ruined her creativity, and it actually stole one of the main things that she loved about herself, which was her artistic ability. And this is a sad, but actually pretty frequent antidepressant horror story, or side effect horror story, and it makes me wonder why the field of medicine finds these kinds of side effects acceptable. I personally don't believe these kinds of side effects are acceptable because I know they're more than just some fancy medical jargon on the back of a pill bottle. I really believe that psilocybin therapy could be the solution because it has great studies, it's very safe, and it has some fantastic testimonies, which I'm about to get into in the next slide. So, a New York Times bestselling book titled How to Change Your Mind told the story of a successful businesswoman who had her depression cured from psilocybin. So, basically, she gave psilocybin therapy a shot, and after she finished her therapy, her husband forgot to pick her up in the hospital. So, after this, she immediately divorced her husband, and you might think this is a bad thing, but it's actually great because she was living an inauthentic life. And that day, she cured her depression, and her husband were actually best friends after this. And psilocybin really gets people to see the bigger picture in their life and make the necessary decisions to improve their life. So it's like a really real drug and gets people to face their problems head on. So psilocybin has been labeled the ultimate therapist for these reasons because it either gives you a newfound sense of awe for life or shows you deep down what you need to do to change your life. The psilocybin experience is intense and it shouldn't be taken lightly or done without a therapist, but it really allows people to attack their mental health issues head on and not cover them up like antidepressants. We are actually in a psilocybin research renaissance, and the researchers nowadays will not let another Timothy Leary happen. But it is our job as citizens to spread the message of this powerful medicine to the general public and correct its woefully inaccurate misconceptions. In order to liberate one of the most misunderstood but powerful drugs in history, all we need to do is basically read a few articles by ourselves and spread them with our friends and family. When you start these conversations, you might sound a little weird or hippy-dippy-ish, but I promise you that if we all come together, we can truly help those who are fighting the daily struggle of mental illnesses. And if you guys are with me, here are a few links to get you started and to empower you to start your next conversation about psilocybin. So thank you for your time, and I hope you can join my cause.